This episode contains mature themes, including topics of obsession, betrayal, and violent acts, which some viewers may find distressing. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. At 18, Shamiya Ny'Air Allen believed she'd found love with 33-year-old Brian Jackson.
Were actually unusual growths after the surgery when the bandages were
Instead, she entered a world of tangled loyalties, relentless drama, and heartbreak. On a cold January night, everything imploded, leaving Shamiya and her unborn child gone, and questions swirling about Brian's role in her tragic fate. Shamiya Ny'Air Allen was just 18, a young mother from Anderson, Indiana, full of potential. She balanced work and caring for her infant son, dreaming of a better future. In her corner of the world stood 33-year-old Brian Jackson, a man nearly twice her age. To Shamiya, Brian was charming and mature. To Brian, Shamiya was vulnerable and smitten. What Shamiya didn't fully grasp was that Brian was reportedly married, living a double life. For 2 years, their relationship simmered in secrecy. Shamiya fell deeply in love, while Brian tightened his grip, manipulating her with promises and lies. Friends later recalled how something about Brian's hold on her seemed disturbing. The stage was set for tragedy long before that fateful night. Welcome to Crime of Passion. I thank you, my viewers, most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing daily told and untold true crime of passion stories updates. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. As months passed, cracks split their volatile romance. Brian would profess love to Shamiya, then return home to his wife, a cycle of deceit that ate away at the teen's sanity. Jealousy and insecurity took root. Shamiya's social media began to mirror her turmoil. She allegedly posted veiled jabs at Brian's other woman, mocking the woman's weight and taunting the affair out of the shadows. Each post was a dare, ratcheting up the tension. By December 2024, Shamiya's frustration erupted into real-world violence. One frigid night, in a blur of rage and tears, she confronted Brian. The fight got physical. By 2 a.m., Shamiya was in handcuffs, arrested for domestic battery and property damage. She had shattered a window and struck out in fury, according to police records. It was a clear red flag. This relationship was spiraling out of control, teetering between passion and danger. Still, neither Shamiya nor Brian walked away. Late January 2025. Shamiya's emotions boiled over into a decision she couldn't take back. Determined to catch Brian in his lies, she showed up unannounced at his home one night and walked straight into a nightmare. There, illuminated by a sliver of light, was Brian in bed with the other woman he'd sworn meant nothing. Shamiya's world shattered. Betrayal hit her like a lightning bolt. Enraged and heartbroken, she lunged at the woman, a fury unleashed after years of being hidden and lied to. Chaos exploded in that bedroom, screams, scuffling, a lamp crashing to the floor. Brian leapt up, caught between protecting his secrets and the 2 women he'd deceived. In that frenzied moment, something in him snapped. He grabbed Shamiya as she fought and, in an act of brutal finality, he ended it. A sharp crack pierced the night, perhaps a gunshot or perhaps Shamiya hitting the floor. Silence followed. In the darkness, Shamiya lay motionless, fatally wounded. Brian Jackson had just killed the teen girl who loved him. Neighbors, startled by the commotion, called 911. Police arrived at a harrowing scene, furniture overturned, the air still crackling with violence, and Shamiya lifeless on the floor. Paramedics desperately tried to save her, but it was too late. In the early hours of January 30th, 2025, Shamiya Ny'Air Allen was pronounced dead. Her dreams, even her very breath, had been violently stolen. Brian Jackson was immediately taken into custody, hands cuffed, his chest splattered with the blood of the girl he'd once wooed. As dawn broke over Anderson, news of the killing spread quickly. Detectives pieced together the grim puzzle, a lover's triangle gone horribly wrong. The other woman, Brian's wife, told police how Shamiya had burst in and attacked her. Brian, she said, intervened. But why did he have a weapon? Why such lethal force against an unarmed teen? Those questions hung in the air as investigators photographed the bloodstains and shattered glass. Shamiya's family was notified, their worst nightmare now reality. A young mother was dead, and a 33-year-old husband sat in jail, accused of murder. On social media, an outpouring of grief and anger followed. Locals were horrified. How could this happen? A beautiful life cut short. A baby boy now motherless. But Ryan didn't grieve. He didn't mourn the mother of his child. Instead, he sprinted to Facebook, where he wasted no time doing damage control. In a now-deleted post, he wrote, "She just broke in my house and was shot in the head." Just like that, cold, detached, and devoid of any remorse. The public backlash was swift, forcing him to erase his words, but not before they were screenshotted and shared. Then, as if the situation couldn't get any more suspicious, a lengthy message suddenly appeared on Ny'Air's page, one detailing why she supposedly did what she did. But was it really her? Or was it just another piece of Brian's carefully crafted narrative? It stated, "If y'all are seeing this, that means I did what I planned on doing. Either everybody in the house died or just me. Either way it goes, I put it on my son that I wasn't going back to jail again. I don't regret my decision at all. The only thing I really regret is the moment I ever called 12 on my baby daddy, the moment I dialed 911. I ruined the life that I really wanted for myself. Ever since then, my life changed for the worse. He never did anything to me that deserved jail time. In fact, he actually did many things to help better my life. I would only wish jail on my worst enemy. Now that I see what it was really like in there, I hate myself for getting him locked up. I don't feel bad for getting that pit bull-faced ex of his locked up, though. But the fact that he forgave me for that, and for getting him locked up not once but twice, shows me that he loved me unconditionally. I know I used to make him sound bad by only talking about the wrong things he did, but I could write a book about the things that prove he loves me and that he's a great man. I was just too young and dumb to appreciate it. Y'all can say I was too young for him, but he was just right for me. He was what I wanted, and I didn't care if he had a girlfriend or not. I did whatever it took to have him to myself. But once I got him to myself, I realized what my role really felt like. He needed 2 women. It all made sense. I just didn't care. I wanted him to myself, and I always got what I wanted. So I said and did just enough to convince him that I could be his number 1, but I never really planned on it. I could see how frustrated I was making him, but I thought he could become the man of my dreams. He could just be patient with me while I figured out how to do good woman things the way he wanted. I knew what it took to be a good woman for him, but when it came to actually doing it, I would get overwhelmed, especially being pregnant and then fresh after giving birth. I just didn't have the energy to help him the way he deserved. I wanted to do whatever I could for him, since him 95% of the reason he ever needed help in the first place, finally taking accountability for my role. I admit that I was wrong for coming into this grown man's life and trying to manipulate him into changing his lifestyle for me. He ended up losing so much in that process: his house, car, job, friends, family, and freedom. When I met him, he was doing great financially and headed in the right direction, but he was so emotionally damaged from that woman cheating on him. He was not in his right mind at all. I just thought I could be there for him and heal him with this good laughing emoji, but he could not get over this woman. So I had to remove her from the picture myself, laughing emoji, but even that didn't work. Everything just got worse. He was still accepting her jail calls and writing her right in front of me, but I had to act like I was cool with it. I even helped tattoo her name on him after he told me he was over her. First, of course, I just had to play my cards right long enough, and he would be all mine. He was really young and naive, too. I already knew he was impressionable when I met him, and he was honest about his intentions from day one. I should have just accepted him as he was, but I thought I could get in and change him into the man I wanted. That's where I went wrong. When I made it clear that I didn't have intentions of being his woman or even one of his women, he tried to break up with me respectfully, but I felt like I had sacrificed too much of myself for us not to be where I wanted him. I wouldn't let him leave me and certainly wasn't letting him go. My family had been judging me and talking down on me ever since I got with him, and every time I tried to leave, he would immediately play into the negativity, making everything worse. I was too hurt to admit that my whole family abandoning me was because I was choosing the only person who had been there for me without judgment, with patience as I grew. This is really all the CFS fault. They was trying to separate a black family over nothing. They were stressing me out, trying to make it seem like I was a bad mother, making me jump through all these hoops to prove that I wasn't with my baby daddy anymore, just to get my baby back when they shouldn't have taken him in the first place. My baby daddy was the only one truly there for me, helping me without making me regret accepting his help. When DCS first came to take my baby, none of my so-called family loved me enough to make sure he didn't end up in foster care. It was Brian's family who stepped in to get our son, or at least someone else who wasn't my family. So now he's been staying with my sister's mother for the past 8 months. Knowing that DCS doesn't have a jeepus on my baby and isn't checking up on her at all, she never once tried to let me see my child. She really tried to keep my baby for herself. That's another story I won't even get to tell. Shake my head. But all that to say, I really messed my life up, and he kept forgiving me. I kept promising to fix things and do better for us, but it was just too hard to stay motivated when I was missing my baby 24/7. And I knew how hard it was weighing on Ryan because he literally told me everything I needed to know to prevent all of this. Everything bad that happened to me was because I ignored his advice. So please, y'all, don't blame him for what I did, and don't blame the person who gave me the gun. I was gonna get one from somewhere eventually, no matter what. This was my decision. I was gonna hurt that pit bull-faced ex for putting hands on me and calling 12. They didn't jump me. He was just trying to break it up. I let the cops make me mad because I told them I was in a shelter and didn't have any food. When I got there, I just had to see if he had gone over there. I just knew he did. I protected the last bit of the family we had, and I just protected her friend's name once she knew she had to protect herself like any normal person would. But I did this. They put their hands on me, and I'm going back to jail. And whether Brian sees it or not, we are soulmates. Wherever he goes, I go. Wherever I go, he goes. While Ny'Air's family was mourning and trying to make sense of what happened, Ryan was busy trying to dodge accountability, jumping on social media with a lengthy monologue about how he was the real victim. And yet, outside of the immediate community, the case barely made headlines, leaving friends to ask why. In the weeks after, Shamiya Allen's death became more than just a local tragedy. It became a flashpoint of controversy. Public speculations swirled. Some saw Brian Jackson as a calculating predator who groomed a vulnerable minor for his own gratification. They argued that Shamiya's fate was sealed from the moment a married 31-year-old began seducing a 16-year-old girl. The power imbalance was extreme and exploitative. The fact that Shamiya ended up arrested in December was, to them, proof of how Brian manipulated her into madness. Others pointed to Shamiya's own actions, however destructive they were. She had broken the law, attacking Brian and his partner. Did Brian act in self-defense that night? Legal debates ignited. Would Brian claim he feared for his wife's life when he struck Shamiya down? Or was this cold-blooded murder of a teen who was retreating? Thus far, authorities have treated Shamiya's death as a homicide. Brian Jackson is behind bars awaiting charges, the weight of his actions starting to catch up with him. Meanwhile, moral questions divide the public. Was Shamiya equally at fault for entering a toxic affair and turning violent? Or was she a tragic victim, lured by an older man's lies and ultimately silenced when she dared to stand up to him? The case also sparked discussions about the overlooked stories of young Black women in abusive relationships. Why did it take social media outrage for people to hear Shamiya's name? In barbershops and living rooms across Indiana, people grappled with the uncomfortable truths this case laid bare. The lure of forbidden love, the danger of secrets, and the fine line between passion and peril. In the end, one thing is clear. Shamiya Ny'Air Allen's story is a tragedy that never should have happened. An 18-year-old is gone, her bright future and her child's mother snatched away in a burst of violence. Brian Jackson faces a grim future of his own as the justice system prepares to weigh his fate. But beyond the courtroom, this story leaves us with haunting questions. How many red flags were ignored? How many lies did it take to trap Shamiya in this deadly web? And could anyone have saved her before it was too late? Shamiya's short life and brutal death stand as a stark warning about toxic relationships hidden in plain sight, about the predators who manipulate, and the victims who sometimes fight back until it costs them everything. Let this story sink in. As you reflect on this heartbreaking case, tell us, what do you think was the turning point where tragedy became unavoidable? Could Shamiya have escaped, or was she already in too deep? We invite you to share your thoughts and lessons from this cautionary tale. Thank you for watching, and if this story moved you, consider subscribing for more true crime narrations. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, secrets can be deadly.